Welcome back. From the observation deck, let's look at something the mind does that most of us never name. An old hoodie is folded at the back of your closet, behind the things you actually wear. You know it's there. You've reorganized around it twice, your hand has landed on it, and then moved to something else, and you've never fully decided why. Maybe there's a specific fabric, a drawstring knot still tied the way they tied it, a faint trace of something in the weave that hits you before you've even made a conscious decision. You haven't worn it. You haven't donated it. You've just been moving around it quietly for longer than you've been counting. You call it clutter when someone asks. You say you'll deal with it eventually. But eventually keeps not arriving, and the hoodie keeps being exactly where you left it, and somewhere underneath the mild embarrassment of not having sorted it out, there's something that feels less like avoidance and more like a decision you've already made without words. You're not stuck. You're not failing to grieve correctly. You're doing something much more specific, and it turns out the body has very clear reasons for it. Here's the kinder, more biological truth. The discomfort you feel when you reach for that hoodie isn't noise. It isn't interference from a sentimental brain that hasn't caught up with reality. It's information. It's your nervous system doing something precise. Antonio Damasio, the neuroscientist, spent years in the 1990s studying patients who had damage to specific regions of the brain involved in emotional processing. These patients could reason perfectly. They understood logic, they could discuss consequences, they tested normally on cognition assessments, but they couldn't make decisions. Ordinary choices, where to eat, whether to keep an appointment, how to sort a problem, collapsed into paralysis or randomness. Damasio's insight, published in 1994, was that the body is not a passenger in rational thought. It's a co-pilot. The mechanism he called the somatic marker hypothesis holds that emotions leave physical traces in the body, micro-sensations, a tightening in the chest, a slight resistance in the hand, a shift in breath, and those physical traces act as fast, pre-verbal signals that tell the brain whether to proceed or stop. Think of it like a tripwire strung across a doorway. You don't see the wire, you just feel your foot stop. And the instinct is to call that stopping irrational. But Damasio's research suggests the opposite. The stopping is the most rational thing your nervous system knows how to do. It's encoded from experience. It's the body saying, "This matters. Slow down. Don't treat this like an ordinary object." The hoodie isn't ordinary. Your hand knows this before your prefrontal cortex has formed a complete sentence about it. That's not failure, that's the somatic marker, doing exactly what it was built to do. Think of the hoodie as a load-bearing wall in a building. You could remove it, the building might stay standing, but the wall is doing structural work you can't fully see from the outside, and the body's job, the nervous system's job, is to flag load-bearing things before you dismantle them. There's also what attachment researchers call the transitional object. You probably know the concept from childhood. The stuffed animal, the worn blanket, the thing a small person carries between the safe world of home and the uncertain world outside. The object isn't a substitute for the person, it's a portable version of the felt sense of safety that person represents. Winnicott, the British paediatrician and psychoanalyst who described this in the 1950s, was careful to say the object isn't a delusion. The child isn't confused about where the parent is. The object is a technology for holding a relationship steady across absence. Adults don't stop needing this technology. The form changes. A hoodie instead of a blanket, a jacket still on its hook, a scarf you wear once in November and then fold back carefully. These aren't childish attachments dressed up in adult clothes. They're the same neurological mechanism operating in the same way for the same reason: to keep a felt sense of connection available when the original source of connection isn't. When attachment researchers study grief in adults, one consistent finding is that physical objects slow the transition not by preventing processing, but by pacing it. The object gives the nervous system somewhere to put the relationship while the slower cognitive work of integration catches up. The hoodie isn't holding you in the past. It's holding the relationship at a livable temperature while the rest of you figures out how to carry it forward. So, what do you actually do with this? Not what the decluttering culture would tell you, not a designated grief day, not a KonMari assessment of whether it sparks joy, as though grief were a category problem rather than a biological one. The first thing you can do is rename it, not mentally dramatize it, just rename it. When your hand lands on the hoodie and moves away, say to yourself, not out loud, just internally, somatic marker. That's what this is. Your body has flagged a load-bearing object. You don't have to do anything else. The naming removes the layer of secondary anxiety, the "what's wrong with me for not sorting this out" layer, and leaves just the original signal, which is softer and more survivable than the shame on top of it. The second thing, take the hoodie out of the closet once, not to examine it, not to decide anything, just take it out. Hold it for 60 seconds and put it back. That's it. What you're doing is completing a tiny gesture of acknowledgement, which is all the Zeigarnik effect. The brain's tendency to keep unresolved tasks active in working memory actually needs to quiet down. You're not resolving the grief. You're just telling the nervous system, I see this, I'm not pretending it isn't here, I'm choosing to keep it, consciously, as a decision, not an avoidance. The third thing is the one that takes the least effort and has the longest reach. Find one word for what the hoodie holds. Not a sentence, not a story. One word: warmth, safety. Thursday evenings, her laugh, his particular habit of leaving the drawstring asymmetrical. Write that word on a small piece of paper, fold the paper, and put it with the hoodie. You've just done something that memory researchers call elaborative encoding. You've given the stored memory a retrieval cue that's entirely yours, entirely chosen, entirely low stakes. The word isn't for anyone else. It's a small act of authorship over something you've mostly been carrying silently. None of these actions require you to let go. None of them are about moving on, they're about moving with, which is what grief researchers increasingly describe as the more accurate and more humane model of what long-term loss actually looks like. You're allowed to keep the hoodie. You're allowed to keep it for another decade, folded in the same place, reorganized around, twice more, still not dealt with. The body flagging it isn't a malfunction, it's the most honest assessment your nervous system can make of what that object is still doing for you. Damasio's patients, the ones who lost the ability to process somatic markers, didn't feel free. They felt adrift. The signal that stops your hand isn't trapping you, it's orienting you, it's pointing at something real. The one thing to do today: take the hoodie out, hold it for 60 seconds, put it back, say the word, fold the paper. That's the whole ritual. It doesn't require courage or a clear afternoon or the right emotional state. It requires 60 seconds and one word, and it turns a quiet avoidance into a quiet decision. Those are very different things to carry. If this opens something, the next video sits right next to this one. I'll see you there. If you've got something in the back of a closet or a drawer, or still on a hook by the door, tell me what it is in the comments. Not the story, just the object. I read everyone.
Thank you for sitting with this. We are here to keep observing without judgment and with total clarity. I'll see you next time.